7 p.m. Monday, April the 10th. I call this meeting to order and declare we have a quorum. Ms. Dialysis will lead us in the pledges, and Mr. Director in the invocation, please rise.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one indivisible.
Let us pray. My Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day. Knowing this is a day you have made, we all should rejoice and be glad. We thank you for the precious gift you have given us and our students and our staff. We ask your blessings upon us as we celebrated the resurrection of our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, knowing he arose on the third day with all power within his hand. Now we ask your blessings upon our meeting. We ask these things in the most powerful name of Jesus Christ. We pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Mr. Dialysis and Mr. Director. Next is public testimony. We have everybody sign up. Okay. Moving on to item 3 on the agenda, district recognition, Panther Employee of the Month for April 2023. Ms. Cook.
Okay, welcome everyone. It's so good to see you here this evening. I know that it's a very, very busy time during the spring. So we have a lot of our recipients of these awards that may not be here tonight, but those of you that were able to join us, thank you so much. So let's get started, and let's start with our Panthers of the Month for April 2023. When I call your name, will you please come over to our photo booth? You might call it over here. We're going to take some pictures of you and give you your awards. So we're going to begin first with Viviana Garcia. Are you here? No, not here today? Well, let's hear about her. She's a second grade student at Falk Elementary. Viviana sets a fine example for other students at our school. During this school year, she has maintained great attendance, completed all assignments, upheld an excellent standard of behavior, and demonstrated leadership by being one of our school ambassadors. We are very proud of Viviana and can't wait to see the great things she will accomplish. Let's give her a round of applause. Next, we have Ivy Franks. Oh, goodness. I hate that. I love seeing our students. But Ivy Franks is a 5th grade student at Charlie Marshall Elementary. Ivy has a great attitude and is a true role model for those around her. She is known as the student who gives some of the best hugs around campus. Ivy works well with her peers, and her positive attitude is a great representation of what we strive to be at Charlie Marshall Elementary. We got some parents outside. I think maybe one of the people from. Okay. Come on in. Hi.
You take the front seat.
Ivy. Ivy, we were just talking about you. If you could come over here to this area, welcome, welcome. So I'm going to read this again so you can hear it. Ivy Franks is a 5th grade student and a tall girl too. I'm seeing basketball on her future at Charlie Marshall Elementary. Ivy has a great attitude and is a true role model for those around her. She is known as the student who gives some of the best hugs around campus. Ivy works well with her peers, and her positive attitude is a great representation of what we strive to be at Charlie Marshall Elementary. We are proud to have Ivy Franks as our Panther of the Month. Congratulations. Thank you so much for being here. Next, we have Jaden Edmonds. Jaden, are you here tonight? He is an 8th grade student at AC Blunt Middle School. Jaden is a she at AC Blunt Middle School who always has a smile on her face, is always polite, and willing to help when asked. Jaden is an all-around hardworking, courteous, and friendly student and athlete that AC Blunt is proud to call Panther of the Month. Congratulations, Jaden. Next, we have Faith Vasquez. Yay, she's here. Faith is an 11th grade student at Aransas Pass High School. Faith volunteered at the special needs prom, not only making sure all of the guests were having fun, but stayed after the event to help clean up without being asked. Even though she had a powerlifting event early the next morning, Faith said she was volunteering and wanted to stay and help. In and out of the classroom and on and off the tennis court, Faith is always a great representation of what it means to be a Panther. Congratulations.
And Miss Cook, she made a trip in here because she was at a regional tournament. Is that right? At regional tennis tournament. So she just finished up her match today and came directly here. So
Wonderful. Great job. I tell you, that's the thing about our students. They're very, very busy, and then they just keep giving, and people like Faith make a big difference in our community and our district. So thank you for that. That is wonderful. Next, we want to do our employees of the month. First, we have Heather Heslip. Heather is a second grade teacher at Falk Elementary. Heather has been a teacher for 17 years and is in her first year here at APISD. Heather has been a wonderful addition to Falk, and we are very pleased to have her as our Employee of the Month. She goes above and beyond for her students and those around her and motivates students to be lifelong learners. Congratulations. Next, we have Devereaux Merrill. Devereaux is PE para at Charlie Marshall Elementary. Although this is only her second year with us, she has shown a tremendous amount of growth, loyalty, and tenacity. You can count on her to get our day started in the gym for morning announcements in the most inspirational way possible, with motivational and uplifting music. We are so proud to have her as our Employee of the Month. Congratulations. Next up, we have Erica Sheffield. Erica has worked at AC Blunt for the past 6 years. In that time, she has served in a variety of roles as a paraprofessional, doing whatever is needed to meet the needs of the campus. In January of this year, Ms. Sheffield stepped into a new role as a 6th grade math teacher and has proven through hard work, adaptability, and positivity that she absolutely deserves to be the Employee of the Month. Congratulations. Next, we have Stacy Ostrom. Stacy is an assistant principal at Aransas Pass High School. Miss Ostrom has kept everything organized and running smoothly, whether she's working with attendance, testing, or students. Miss Ostrom's positive spirit has been a great addition. She has a servant's heart and is always willing to volunteer to help others. Thank you, Miss Ostrom. For the month of April, the District Administration Employees of the Month are our district assistant principals. So the following would come if they're here tonight. Falk AP is Hesper Donahue. AC Blunt, Elizabeth Ward. And high school APs, Stacy, come on back up here, and Glenn Hayes. These amazing administrators have a crucial role on our campuses and are sometimes overlooked. They work tirelessly to bolster teachers, motivate students, support their principal, create a positive learning community, and also handle many daily challenges. They are our unsung heroes. Congratulations. And finally, we have Rebecca Moreno. Rebecca is a bus monitor in the APISD Transportation Department. Rebecca is a team player. Her and her driver have worked together to turn around the disciplinary issues on their bus. Rebecca always wants to help. She is willing to stay after to clean buses and do odd jobs to help others. And I have to add, she always has such a beautiful smile on her face. Thank you, Rebecca. Congratulations again to each and every one of you. You are such a joy in our district, and we're so glad that you were here tonight so we could honor you. Thank you so much.
Okay, before we proceed on to the next item on the agenda, we usually take an opportunity for anybody, like the parents or the students, this opportunity to take a moment break. And if you want to leave or you stay for the rest, you're more than welcome to stay for the rest of the board meeting if you want to. But this is the opportunity for you to go. I know Faith's ready to go because she hadn't been home all day. So.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
And our employees got to work tomorrow, so come back. We're on a downswing, final stretch.
Thank you. Congratulations. Thank you.
Okay, moving on. Item 4, Superintendent's report. First is item 4A, enrollment report. Ms. Cook.
Yes, in your packet, you have our enrollment report ending on April 5th. Our district total was 1,712 students. Our attendance rate was 93.85%. So we're slowly trying to get back up there and hold on and get back to that 94 and hopefully one day 95% again. So things are turning around there, but our enrollment's kind of holding steady through the spring, and we're thankful for that. If you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer them. Okay, go
Anybody
ahead,
have any
continue.
questions? Okay, and next is the student outcome report, Pathways in Technology, Early College, High School, PTAC overview. Ms. Cook.
We have this wonderful program that we're starting this next school year, and so I've asked Matthew Escada, our CTE coordinator. He is here this evening to share with you what PTEC is all about, what it means, and what it's going to mean mostly for our students. So he's going to do a quick presentation for you. Matthew, thank you for being here.
Thank you, Ms. Cook. Blaze, do you have the PowerPoint? I'm gonna.
Good save.
I'm okay. Yes, it's on the flyers.
Thank you. Get this done without making a mess.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is it? So I guess while we wait for the PowerPoint, we, sometimes technologies, can be benefits and cons, but actually the.
That way you can just go ahead and start.
Oh, I have.
Okay.
So what PTEC is, it's an acronym for Pathways in Technology, Early College, High School. And basically what it is an open enrollment high school that allows students least likely to attend college an opportunity to receive a high school diploma or credential or associate's degree. The hallmark of the PTEC model is a career focus and a provision of work-based learning education. So I should have introduced myself, Ms. Cook. I introduced myself, but I'm Matthew Escada. I'm the PTEC CTE coordinator for the district, and so this year is our planning year. We will be going into implementation next year. We will be recruiting students to be part of this PTEC program, and that starts at the freshman level.
You start freshman or 8th grade level? Don't you recruit them down in junior high and put come up, or
Well-
you start when they become a freshman?
So what I'm going to be recruiting 8th grade students, and then each year I'll be recruiting 8th grade students. They're going to continue on. So we're going to start at cohort 1 that's going to be going into high school, and then they will be a P-Tech student all the way from all their way through their high school years, as long as they stick to the program guidelines and rules.
All right, thank you.
And this program focuses on at-risk and eco-dis students. It is open to all students, but if the target number we're looking at is 15, it's about 15% of the graduating class, give or take. I feel like that's a solid number to be a part of this P-Tech program. So the targets, and there's 7 of these targets, is to enroll historically underserved students targeting at-risk and economically disadvantaged. Second bullet is provide students 9th and 12th grade an opportunity to complete a course study that combines high school and post-secondary courses. 3 is enable students to earn a high school diploma with an associate's degree level 1 or 2 certification or industry-based certification within 6 years. 4, offer age-appropriate work-based learning opportunities in every grade level. I will say number 3, we have been doing this very successfully, but prior to I getting here, we chose healthcare as our P-Tech program. It's to me, the most successful program here, and I would say within this region. I've visited through this past year, I've visited numerous healthcare programs in the region, and Aransas Pass always came to mind, and the success. So what we're doing in P-Tech, I have no doubt will be successful in what we're doing. If you could go to the next slide. Number 5, allow students to gain work experience through internships, apprenticeships, and job training programs. 6, align to regional workforce needs, guiding students in high demand, high wage careers. And at 7, partner with Texas Institutes of Higher Education, regional businesses and industries, giving students access to post-secondary education, workforce training opportunities. Number 5, and we are currently doing through our practicum right now in the health science. Actually, we will, in their junior year and senior year, and students getting EKG and phlebotomy certifications, as well as patient tech and medical assistant, which I will highlight in a couple slides. So benefits of being part of this P-Tech program is that students will graduate with 4 certifications. Well, that is something we're doing, and that standard will continue. But the next part is having to complete dual credit course leading to an associate's degree. Right now, that's not a requirement. It necessarily you need to, past TSA is going to be something we push early on, freshman and sophomore year, so you can take dual credit classes. The dual credit classes you take will lead you to eventually maybe getting a CNA with Del Mar or going into a nursing program maybe at Texas A&M Corpus Christi. We just want to allow those options for students to do upon graduating from Aransas Pass.
They can't get a CNA before they graduate?
We right now don't have that in place right now. There are a lot of requirements for that. One is the age of 18, and 2 is working with a nursing home. It's very difficult, and then it weeds out the number of students. So you're specifically focusing on just nursing students, while our program focuses on the whole reach of healthcare. And so it'd make it very difficult to meet the CNA number.
Thank you.
Also, first-hand exposure to healthcare industry, and then mentors and internships.
Was the program previously offering a CNA a few years back?
Yes. But from my knowledge, when Harvey came and the hospital was no longer here, that's when things started to go south. Also, Del Mar was a factor. We were not having a teacher here. Del Mar was still in a teacher, but only one class period. So those students had to be at that class period. So if they had something else going on, class that needed to catch up, athletics, band, they couldn't be a part of that. Right now, we control that while we're hiring someone in-house to do those certifications. Gives us great flexibility. I will say we're one of the rare districts in this region that does that. Unfortunately, Del Mar does not broadcast that to you to where you can get certifications. It's not in their best interest, but we can do that in-house as long as we have someone that can do that work to get our students prepared for any of these certifications.
Because I think used to be, we had the hospital here and our nursing home both, so the kids got a lot of on-hand experience, and both of those were not there anymore, so now it's hard to get them someplace else to get that work experience.
Amistad is going to be partnering with us, so the clinic here. So they have agreed to, we have an MOU already with them are working on MOU with them to partner with us.
Okay, thank you.
I did touch on the certification. So junior year, they will start on phlebotomy their fall semester, spring EKG, and then senior year patient care tech, fall, and then spring of their senior year medical assistant.
I got just off the subject real fast. When we went and visited over there, was a young man that was going through the nursing program that was going to some type of state competition. And he was the only one in this area that actually qualified to move up that high. Do we know? I never got anything back. Heard any word? Did he do well or not?
He was in the top 10, about sixth place. But those opportunities help other students see, the success that continue on to do competitions, in the state. I mean, if you're here, anything's possible, and so I feel like he can be a role model to other students.
He was a freshman, wasn't he? I think he was a freshman.
So I think he was a sophomore
I know
yes.
he was. So he had a number of years to go. So
Yeah. Very, very focused.
As many of y'all know, the demand in healthcare, it's greatly needed. In our region, they're expecting a 13% growth between 2021 and 2031. Our median wage is about $75,000, and that's higher than all occupations, which is about $45,000. So healthcare is a continuing field that is going to be growing, and it is a need. This is just the brochure. I highlighted a lot of the things that I talked about, talking about what P-TECH is. On the actual flyer I put, actually has the website that we have. It also highlights the certifications, benefits to P-TECH, and then the demand, and then some pictures of what the students can see in the healthcare pathway. We will be doing our first two parent nights next week for recruiting the P-TECH program. My plan is to go. I actually did speak to the middle school students in late February, but I had some personal things. Me and my wife expected our second child, so that put a little damper in the timeline. But we will next week. I will be going. This week I will be going back into some of the healthcare classes, some of the CTE courses, to talk to the eighth graders. Because there was some interest among many of the eighth graders. Not many, but there is interest among the eighth grade students, especially the ones that are already in the healthcare program. I'll be doing 2 parent sessions, basically kind of highlighting this, probably going a little bit more in depth of what they can expect of when they can take their dual credit courses, their sophomore, junior, and senior year. But there will be 2 parent sessions, the 18th and the 19th at 6 a.m. 6 p.m., not 6 a.m. And then the last thing, this is, if a student is interested, I did present this to the 8th grade students. They would go to this application. It is just, they put their name, they put what grade they're in, which is 8th grade. That's it. Biggest reason is we can't grade upon, it has to be equal. We can't grade upon essays or any grades. For this program, they're strictly looking at ECODIS and at risk. But it is all welcome as long as they're below that, we're below that 15 student threshold. Once we pass that 15 student threshold, the students that are at risk and ECODIS are the ones that will get the first dibs of being part of this program.
So I have a question.
Yes, sir.
So we're talking about the application process, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're talking about being economically disadvantaged and the fact that their application won't be approved based on any type of assessment scores or teacher recommendations. So if you got 30 kids that apply for it and they're all economically disadvantaged, what determines what 15 kids?
There would be a lottery system that would be in place to do that.
So you have that system in place now?
We're working on that, but that would be something that we'd probably have to do some kind of maybe a wheel or something that it has to be fair and equitable. We can't just start, well, with your last name is, you started an A, you get first dibs. But there'd have to be some kind of lottery system to do that. Maybe put a wheel system and have, the Ms. Dominguez, Ms. Cook, or the middle school principal there to witness that, so there's no bias in that.
So as of right now, that system's not in place?
It's not in place right now because I'm waiting to see what the numbers are looking like. I'd have to look to see where the students stand for ECODIS and then where they stand for at-risk. It's not, could it happen? It could happen, but normally the issue is getting to that 15 number because of many of the P-techs, they have a hard time sometimes recruiting or not. Since we have healthcare, I don't see it being a big number, an issue getting to that 15 number.
Thank you.
I do have a question on the in the program overview, and this is a great opportunity. So I really hope that our 8th graders and parents encourage their child to participate. But I did want to ask a question about obtaining that industry-based certification within 6 years. So if an 8th grader enrolls and they're part of the program and they're there the 4 years of their high school career, then when they graduate, they only have 2 more years?
It actually means within 6 years. So within 6 years, some certifications or some level 1 or associate's degree take 6 years to get. So to get a P-Tech, basically check mark, a distinction, they have to get 1 certification. We're getting 4.
Okay.
So we're way ahead of the game compared to other districts. I really wish y'all could see some of these coaching sessions. We're because of what the prior work we've done in healthcare, we're in a very good spot with this program.
Okay, thank you.
No problem.
This was a grant opportunity that we went out for and received, and we're able to hire Matthew to come in and lead in this, and we're very excited for this opportunity for our students.
So are the dual credit courses paid for through this grant, or does the students have to supplement still?
Well, we've continued to pay for dual credit courses, so that would be something that would be continuing with this program, especially with the students that are at risk and economically disadvantaged.
Good. Thank you.
Any more questions? Thank you, Matthew.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Next is item 4C, calendar of upcoming events. Ms. Cook?
Here we have, spring has sprung, and we have lots of activities. These are the ones that we were able to capture for tonight. But once again, we'll continue to update our website and shoot out text messages to alert you as we know. Sometimes we encourage our principals, again, make sure you keep us abreast of what's going on out there, because sometimes it's hard to keep up with everything that's happening in the spring months. And then you have the end-of-year testing schedule also we put in for you to see as we're entering that phase of the year where we have our end-of-year testing that is taking place as we move into the STAR testing time.
So this is for this year?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Does anybody have any questions on upcoming events or end-of-year testing schedule? Next is item 5, financial report. Got accounts payable, budget status, investment, tax collection, FEMA projects, and ESSER expenditure. Everybody should have had an opportunity to look over those. Anybody have any questions or comments on the accounts payable? On budget status investment? Tax collection? FEMA projects?
Just a question on update, because we really haven't had any formal updates, but the status of reimbursements or anything conveyed on potentially when the district will receive those reimbursements that we've been awaiting a couple years now.
Yeah, no, we haven't received any update on the money and timing. Right now, I am working with my program administrator to do the projects that we've received money. They need to have all the documentation completed for closing those out. So we are working on that. And I'm still working on trying to get the spreadsheet put together for what they're asking for the baseball and softball field. I'm having to sift through a lot of documents to put that together.
And historically, FEMA is one of those things that sometimes you get it, sometimes it could be 6, 7, 8 years before you get any money from it. It just is a process that it's just, you can't count on, you may eventually get the money, but it just takes a while for it to kind of trickle down. Because I've read some articles about school districts in Houston that have been 6, 7 years before they got FEMA money for Hurricane Ike when they hit there, and they're still waiting on things from Harvey as well. So like we are, so.
Is there an issue regarding the sports complex and fields or on the data that they're requesting, or is this
No,
part of the
for the-
process? The
Well,
regular
these-
process?
These are repairs that were made prior to any upgrades that we're making. It's on the softball, baseball field. What the expenses that they're asking for to be itemized is for immediately after Harvey, we rebuilt the baseball, softball field to the original status that it was prior to Hurricane Harvey. They're questioning not so much if they're valid, but they're wanting it to be separated between the baseball and softball field. But our billing came under one umbrella. And there's a lot of detail that they're asking for, and it slowly became available. It's doable on the most part, but it takes a lot of time because for what they're asking for. It may have one invoice with a lot of labor, and I will have to sift like each invoice out. If it was a baseball person that was working or softball, it's to that detail, and it's very time consuming.
So it's previous information that we provided that was requested, they're now asking for it to be itemized further?
There was, not sure if you would say confusion. When this first started, we had FEMA that sent their people in, and they developed projects for each building or location that had damage. And where we got off track is our original people that came down put everything under one heading for baseball, softball field. I told them that it was under one heading, but they deemed it that it should be two and separated. But by the time they gave us that information, the baseball, softball fields were almost completed, and all the billing, the invoices that had been turned into the insurance company were under one heading. It's taken all this time for FEMA to change their mind. It had to get as far as the compliance team from Tatum when they finally kicked it back to FEMA and said, we need you to make a decision. So the last thing I heard was that FEMA had decided if we can take all the invoices and separate them to where I can justify what FEMA said would be owed. I'm having to do those kind of reconciliations and separate out.
Okay.
Too much information.
Well, no, it's just having
It's been very
understanding.
frustrating because
Yeah.
all along I asked them to combine their project, and at least they're saying, okay, it is combined, but we still need for you to divide it out a different way. So I'm trying to get the information that they need in the way they want it.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, questions on FEMA projects? Next is ESSER expenditure reports. Any questions or comments? Next is item 6, consent agenda. Consider and approve minutes of the March 27th, 2023 regular board meeting. Does anybody have any corrections or comments on the minutes? Okay, do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Motion made by Ms. Diaz. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Hill. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Ayes, got it. Next is item 7, announce continuing board education. And in the State Board of Education requires in 19 TAC section 161.1 that the last regular board meeting of Board of Trustees before an election of trustees, whether or not election is held, the current president of each local board of trustees shall announce the name of each board member who has completed required continuing education, who has exceeded the required hours of continuing education, and who is deficient in meeting the required continuing education as of the anniversary of the date of each board member's election or appointment to the board. The announcement shall state that completing the required continuing education is the basic obligation and expectation of any sitting board member under the SBOE rules. The president shall cause the minutes of the local board to reflect the announcement, and if the minutes reflect that trustee is deficient in training as of the anniversary of his or her joining the board, the district shall post the minutes of the district internet on the district's internet website within 10 business days of the meeting and maintain posting until the trustee meets the requirement. A summary of credit hours is enclosed for the board to review for the board president to announce. And I've got a script here for that as well. Under the State Board of Education rule, completing required education each year of service is a basic obligation and expectation of any sitting board member. As the board president, I'm required to announce the name of each member who has completed required continuing education, has exceeded the required continuing education, and is deficient in meeting the required continuing education. There are 8 training areas for the board members' continuing education included in this announcement. The local district orientation to the Texas Education Code, post-legislative update to the Texas Education Code, team building, additional continuing education, evaluating student academic performance and setting goals, identifying and reporting abuse, trafficking, and other maltreatment of children, and school safety. This annual announcement does not cover open government or cybersecurity training required for the trustees on the law, under other law. To the extent applicable to each board member, I will announce the completion or deficiency as required as to the required training. Local district orientation, this requirement for new board members. No board member is required to complete the local district orientation training for the time period covered by this announcement. Orientation to the Texas Education Code. This is a requirement for a new board member. No board members were required to complete the orientation to the Texas Education Code training for the time period covered by this announcement. Post-legislative update to Texas Education Code. This is a post-legislative session requirement. No board member were required to complete the post-legislative update to the Texas Education Code training for the time period covered by this announcement. Team building. The entire board and the superintendent must participate in the annual team building session. The following board members were deficient in meeting the annual requirement. of team building training. John Molinax, David Rector, Adele Diasas, Juanis Butler, Delfino Flores, and Victor Galvan, and Olivia Hill. Again, it's one of these things that all 7 of us have to be available, plus the superintendent, and it's just, we're just unable to schedule that this year because of conflicts and schedules. But we also have to get somebody from the Education Service Center to come over and give us that 3-hour training block. So for the public information, we attempted it twice and for 2 to 3 day periods, and just unable to accomplish it this year. So we're looking forward to doing it this summer sometime after we get the board for new board members, or after we have the election for board, to have whatever the election decides, and then we'll do the training sometime this summer to try to complete it this summer. That'll be for this year, 2023, and then we'll have to complete it again in 2024. Additional continuing education. The board members have exceeded the additional continuing education requirements: John Molinax, Juanis Butler, and Olivia Hill. The following board members are deficient in meeting the additional continuing education requirements: David Rector, Adele Diasas, Delfino Flores, and Victor Galvan. Evaluating student academic performance and setting goals. The following board members have completed the biannual training in evaluating student academic performance and setting goals: John Molinax, David Rector, Adele Diasas, Juanis Butler, and Olivia Hill. The following board members are deficient in meeting the required biannual training evaluating student academic performance and goal settings: Delfino Flores and Victor Galvan. Identifying and reporting abuse, trafficking, and other maltreatment of children. The following board members have completed the biannual training on identifying and reporting abuse and trafficking and abuse and trafficking: John Molinax, Juanis Butler, Victor Galvan, and Olivia Hill. The following board members are deficient in meeting the required biannual training on identifying and reporting abuse and trafficking: David Rector, Adele Diasas, and Delfino Flores. And the last item is school safety. The following board members have completed the biannual training on school safety: John Molinax, Victor Galvan, and Olivia Hill. The following board members are deficient in meeting the required biannual training on school safety: David Rector, Adele Diasas, Juanis Butler, and Delfino Flores. And that's a lot of stuff. So, but again, that's a requirement we have to do. I'm required to make that announcement to the public. So,
Yeah, John, just for,
any questions or comments on
Just
that?
for part of
Any
the rec-
updates? Because I think Blaze, did you get any more updates other than that today? Is there any changes to it?
no, just for part of the record, I think it's important to note that as trustees, we do this, and we do this because we have a passion for education. And we want to be a voice in what's going on in our community. The continuing education piece is very difficult. It's difficult because we're all in different phases of our lives. Some of us are retired and have all the time in the world. Others are still working, and others are out of town or for whatever, wherever direction we're pulled. And the training part is difficult because you have to, the method we used this year was for us to go on our own and do it at our leisure. Well, if you work 6 days a week or 5 days a week, there's not a bunch of leisure to get this done. So one of the avenues to do that is to go to the convention. And I think you can see this in the results here that it's subpar because we all have to go in there and do it on our own, where we went to a convention, we could meet all these requirements in one weekend. Now, we chose not to do that because of the fundamental or the physical part of it with our budget. But I think we need to get back on track to go into the convention and allow everybody the opportunity to be dedicated for one weekend as a team, to be able to go to the different training sessions, to be able to collaborate with trustees across the state and bring ideas back to the district that are working there. It's not only a function of training, it's a function of being able to collaborate and see what other districts are doing. I think we're missing a piece by not going to that convention, and we need to get back on track on doing that as a team.
Yeah, and I think next year we're planning on doing that. We already got it in the budget for next year to actually go and try to give a team of 8, all 8 of us go to the convention. And if not the state convention, at least the winter conference in Galveston that's up there. It's a little easier, closer for us to do. It's a little smaller, but you still get a lot of your continuing education requirements there. And being to both of them, I agree with you that there's a lot of valuable opportunity to cross-feed with other boards, other board members, other superintendents. The cross-feed that information is valuable, and you can't get it anywhere online. but the in person and talking to other board members, how they operate and how they do things is something you just can't get online to do. So being there in person is very valuable, and we're going to try to work on to try to do that next year and try to. So hopefully this report next year won't be as long. It'll be short, hopefully, and so in fact we'll just have everybody exceeding their hours, so we won't have to read through the whole report. Thank you, Victor. Any other questions?
Yes, comment? On the Team of 8 training, I think one of the other things is that, and this year in particular, we had a little difficulty last year as well. That is a requirement that we do locally, though. So, we've had the opportunity to do it locally. And we have to take accountability for that. But one of the things that we added to it this year was that survey. And so in trying to get the Team of 8 training that didn't require the survey, when we added the survey portion of it, that also further delayed. And so if we're at the mercy of an agency facilitator coming and we have only certain dates that are available to our district, because they're not only serving our district, they're also serving Region 2. But we added that other piece to it that also became an obstacle for our particular district. So my question is can we take the Team of 8 required state training without the self-evaluation portion of it?
Yes.
So
And
that's what we should do if we
well,
can.
The reason why the self-evaluation takes takes you about 4 or 5 minutes to do it online, because it's not that time sensitive. But what my plan was is to do that and then have the Education Service Center come back and dig into the analysis of that data as a Team of 8 training, so we could learn from that data, so it just wouldn't be a wasted effort. But again, unless we get the Team 8 training, that gives them something that they can focus on, and it's like it's not that many questions. It's 8 or 10 questions, something like it. It's not that and you got a scale. You just got to rate, one left or right, which way you want to go. So it took me about 5 minutes to do mine, so it wasn't that time consuming, and. But
And it
again,
actually wasn't the survey that prevented it. It was the ability to find a date for all 7 of you to
Right,
meet.
that's
Yeah.
initially, but then when we had the survey and wanting to do the survey at the same time as going over the survey results at the same time of doing the Team of 8 training.
I think it was because the Team of 8 training that we were gonna do was the self-evaluation.
well,
Am I correct? That
well,
the survey
and,
gotta
and
feed
my deal
into
was
it.
talking to
Self-evaluation.
TASB. They could incorporate that survey into the Team of 8 training, so it wasn't just a useless exercise in
Yeah.
doing the survey. So when they come and teach you on a Team of 8, because some of the stuff they would dig from that data is things they would explain in the Team of 8 training that would have to go through. So they could use some of that data to help, give them some topic to focus on. So if there's some problem that they can identify from that data that we need to address as a board, as a whole board, then they can address it and come up with solutions or whatever we need to do, so we become a better board. That was my whole purpose by doing that. But
Yes, I definitely understand the rationale behind the self-evaluation, because that's a time for us to reflect on our effectiveness as a body, as a board, and look for ways, what's working well and where's that room for improvement. That just makes us a stronger board. I understand that, but what I'm saying is when we added it, when we're already missing the Team of 8 training, that waiting on that survey for those results,
It's not in our best interest.
it's not in our best interest when we're running out of time for the Team of 8, because that's a requirement. The survey's not a requirement. The
No,
Team of
and
8
I wasn't
training
gonna
is a
use-
But I
requirement.
think
It
that's
was
where you're
just-
misunderstanding.
But
the-
to have
the
that
sur-
as our agenda,
no,
with-
my deal
as
was
part of
when
our
we get
agenda.
the survey before I did the Team of 8 training. It was, it was after we were having trouble getting the Team of 8 training, and I saw that it was going to be difficult to schedule the board to do that. That's whenever I said, well, we got to do some type of evaluation. I'd like to just, see how we feel as a board. That's why I put that into effect. And I said, well, if we ever do the Team of 8 training, we can incorporate that into it. But that wasn't my objective of doing it in place of or to do whatever else. It was just, and not waiting on that to do the team of 8 training, that wasn't my objective either. Because we don't need it to do the team of 8 training. It was just going to be a part of the team of 8 training if we get it all done.
What's the deadline for that? Is there a deadline?
There isn't, for the team of 8 training, there is once a year. And correct me if I'm wrong, Blaze, we did it before in the summer, but it counted for 2022. We did it last summer before school started, but you have to wait after the 2022-23 school season starts up. Correct me if I'm getting this wrong, before we actually get accomplished it.
The intention of fulfilling your training, and that's when you hold that training. You're fulfilling the training that you need
It's
to
required.
obtain. Required. And that's why you're doing that. And that's what that fulfills. If you have the intention of fulfilling your training for next year, that's what it fulfills. That's what TASB says. They're very big.
So
Yeah.
and I recommend, because we got 2 more, as everyone knows, I'm rolling off, so I would not need to be part of that training
Yeah.
I think the
We
new
don't need to do it
person
before-
sitting in this chair would definitely benefit from that. So not to postpone your requirements, but to at least allow a June if it fulfills this past, or August if it fulfills next year.
I think June, we're going to be efficient. We can't, whatever we accomplish now doesn't count for this year. It does count for next year.
Okay.
So again, this summer, we could try to schedule that sometime this summer, and that would be for 23-24 school year. And then after after the 1st of January, we can do it some other time, whenever the requirement is for the 24-25 year. So,
That would be
yeah,
helpful,
so
yeah.
we'll be back on sync again as far as that goes and getting it complete. Yeah, it's we just got to find where all of us can get together sometime during the summer.
But because it's vague, right? If we held it in June, and it sounds like TASB says, we say what it's intended for, could we intend it for the current year instead of for next school year?
Intended for this current year,
No,
even though we've announced we're
saying-
deficient.
Needs deficiency, because what happens is you'll post this to the website and it will remain there until these requirements are met.
And unless we determine that our next team of 8 is for the deficient year, it's going to stay that way. So if we can do that if we can meet before next school session starts,
It would
and
go
we can
back to
let it
credit
count
this
towards
year,
the current year.
if you deemed it that way. Okay.
even if we got new school board members.
Yes. Technically, they would not be required to, that's a TASB question.
I know, it's just, that's why I say you're getting into, because again,
They'll just be coming on
First
board.
year, they're not, but.
yeah, they're not required to do that yet, so. But you can get a team of 8 training because they wouldn't be a part of the team of 8. So that's why,
Yeah.
Well,
they're not required, but
respectfully,
they'd still-
we do have to be accountable. We've had the questionnaire for our timeout since January. There's honestly not an excuse for us as a board to be almost in May and we don't have a date established. The training, I'm gonna have to disagree with Mr. Galvan. The training's not that difficult. I completed most of mine in 1 day. So this is a basic obligation and we need to do it.
I didn't say it was difficult, I said the time element's difficult.
Well, I mean, we have an online learning center just for the knowledge
Again,
of the public.
Your
It's
definition of time and my
self-paced.
definition of time
I
is different.
understand that. I'm just saying, we all work.
My
School
point-
board members across the state
My other
work.
point is this, is that we pay for training for staff to go on training during the summer, but we can't pay for training for trustees to go to training during the summer. Makes no sense. If it's important for staff to go training, it's just as important
Well, we
for a
did
board
have a
to go.
PO to do online training.
I'm talking about the
And even when
convention
we've
could be out there
gone
once.
to conferences, in my time on the board, all 8 of us have not been there.
well, and just, it was a conscious decision. We as a board decided not to go to the convention this year because of the funds, and you've already alluded to that fact, that the money we spent for that, we could spend that better for our students here locally, and that's what we're driving to do. So hopefully our budget will be a better situation this year, so we can actually do that for
Have
coming
it in
up
there
here.
for you.
And I agree with Victor, it is important because, there's a lot of camaraderie there because we get to meet together and we get, and you get the evenings out and you get together as a team of 8 and have some social time together and get to know each other a little bit better. So, and we're going to have, we're going to have at least one new board member on board. So we get an opportunity to meet that person and get to know their family and get to know the history about them. So, you know, and plus also you get a lot of continuing education credits there.
Absolutely.
That's there in a 3-day period. And you can complete everything except for the team of 8 training in that one session. You get everything for the year, and that, like Victor said, in 3-day period, you get it all done. Okay, it's just that team of 8 training. That's, you know, and I wish we would have a team of 8 training somewhere in that conference where, because a lot of times that's when you get to all 8 people come together. So it's easier to get it there than it is other times in the year. But they don't have that. They don't do that during those conventions. So it's something you have to do individually. Each district has to set it up for them. So, but thank you for the comments and in that. So, you know, any other comments or questions on that?
Can we schedule in June?
We probably need to wait till after the election to get the new board member on board. So I would say at the first board meeting we have after the election, after we get the any new board members that come on board, since we got 3 people that are up for re-election, and you know, and we can schedule it now. But those 3 people that are up for election, if they're not elected, then we could end up having, you know, to come back and readdress it all over again with those three new members. So it doesn't. My suggestion would be to wait until we have a sitting board that's going to be here for at least 2 years, and then we'll set the dates to try to do it. Is that okay? I mean, if that's okay with everybody.
We could put that on the June board meeting. That'll be the first meeting where you'll have whoever's on the board will be seated.
Try to set a date for the team of 8 training, and try to get it as early as possible sometime.
Yes.
And so we get on, because the Education Service Center, they're going to be booked up if we wait too long. So
Hopefully at that meeting, if all 7 of you can agree with, because, you know, I'll make it happen whenever. So all 7 agree on several dates, and then we'll call that next morning and we'll have them, we'll grab one of those dates.
Grace, you got the work cut out for you again. Okay. Going to item 8. Any other questions or comments on that before we move on to action agenda? Item 8, the action agenda, consider and approve healthcare, jobs, and education training, education for Texas JET grant recommendation for vendors and purchase of equipment or services. Ms. Cook?
I'm going to actually give an overview of this action item and the following one. Our district has been awarded 2 grants from Texas Workforce Commission. The first one is for healthcare jobs in the amount of $705,255. The second one is welding jobs in the amount of $712,500. For a total of $1,417,755. Very thankful for this. I want to say a special thank you to Matthew, if he's still here. Yes, he's still there. Matthew helped take the lead on this. This is a grant that we've been wanting to do ever since I got here 5 years ago, and this is the year that we jumped in. We felt very confident that we had our 2 pathways that were very healthy, and we had a clear vision of what we were wanting to do. This grant was written, it was received. We've been going through negotiations and bidding process. This has been a heavy lift on this grant, but it is going to be well worth it once it's all done. So we are finally, thanking God and everyone involved. We are here tonight with final approvals have been received from Texas Workforce Commission, and tonight we're bringing you the packets for each of the grants, requesting your approval so that we might enter into the implementation process. By policy, anything over $25,000 that's purchased or bid out, we must bid, and we try to get 3 bids. We don't always get them, especially with some of these very specific items that are a part of our grant. So that's what was taking so long. It was a lot of work to reach out, try to get people to bid, figure out our tabulation sheets. You'll see in the tabulation sheets We actually try to use like we normally do. We even put in items that were under 25,000. We wanted you to see everything that's going to be purchased. So you'll notice that some of the tabulation sheets may show a lower score, but they number one, they were probably a sole source. There was no one to even average them against, compare them against. Some of our criteria, such as using them before, that they've been a vendor we've used before, or a local vendor, they lost major points there just simply because sole source, they're the only ones that sell this, only one that bid on it, so they could lose 20 points right there. So you can't necessarily always go by the end number. I know that was a question that was brought up. Normally those we wouldn't even have a tabulation sheet. We would have just purchased that. But because we wanted to bring it to you as an entire package so you could see everything that is going to be purchased, along with our electrical work that needs to be done. We have to have electrical upgrades, and that was a big cost for us to be able to have this equipment. So this grant is a huge blessing for us to truly be able to go in, and as you know, we've already been in the areas. Certifications have been happening. Amazing things are going on, even without all of this equipment. So once we have all of this in place, we can really ramp it up, and we will truly have state-of-the-art labs with some equipment that no one else pretty much in the region in a high school even has. So we're very excited about this. So tonight we're bringing all of this information to you and instead of doing individual approvals, as you see in it, it has it where we're recommending basically approving the healthcare jet grant vendors and purchase of equipment of services. And then you do that for the welding. But I'll be glad to try to answer any of your questions or give you any insight. Like I said, this has been many, many months that we've been working on this, and back and forth. Prices changed. Then we had to, and when we found out the electrical was going to be more than we thought, then we had to go back to the drawing board and kind of revamp. You'll notice that the totals do not come out exactly to what the grant award is. So in healthcare, we'll have $96,000 still on the table, and welding will have $44,000. The reason for that is that gives us some cushion, because as we continue, because by the time we got the bids and come in, multiple things can happen. And when you're dealing with welding, with electrical, there could be some issues that might rise up that we did not know. So we've left some on the table to give us a cushion there. But TWC will allow us, if we see that things are moving along smoother, then we can come back and we can actually use some of that money to buy some more equipment. But we're trying to be very cautious, very careful. This is a matching grant. That was one of the things that really having to work through in our budget to make sure that we could make our matches on this as we do that. That's why the net piece was very important to us as to when would the payment have to come out. So we've all worked together as a team to ensure that we can pull this off. But this is very exciting news, and we'll be doing a big formal announcement soon, but we wanted to get it through the process with TWC and through you for approval before we do that. So any questions?
I have one, just the unduplicated students enrollment, nothing to do with the equipment, or is that projected, or is that an actual number, or how did we come up with the?
Matthew, you want to come up and speak to some of these? He's guru in all this. I hate to misspeak.
So unduplicated is, so if a student is taking at the same time principles of healthcare, principles of health science, and midterm, they're only going to count once. So with our current numbers right now, we're over it in health science. Welding, we're close to the projected number of about, I think we're at 50, I think it's 52. But what comes into light is when August comes, we're going to have a big jump in welding. Go from the enrollment right now, we're looking at 87 students.
Is that a condition of this grant, though, that we have to meet these numbers?
We do have to meet, well, we do meet the numbers, and then if we don't, then we pay a prorated amount.
Okay.
So it's if
We put our numbers where we will meet them.
yeah,
Okay.
I'm confident we.
I just didn't know how that number seemed high to me, but I get it now.
Yeah, when I wrote this, we had 94 in high school in health science, and then we had about 35 in middle school. So that was about 129. Then welding, I mean, I was figuring somewhere, especially with the growth, around 50 to 55. I thought 52 was a doable number, but with what the grant people have told me, the school year, that's when they want to know training aspect, and so we'll meet those numbers.
Okay, okay, thank you.
I have a question. Is this the same grant when we took the district tour in January? That you,
It'll be the same labs, yes.
the same
so
labs.
those labs, and when we showed you the layout, so where
Mm-hmm.
we're wanting to put all of the equipment and so forth, yes.
Okay, so at that time, we did not have the matching funds.
Mm-hmm.
How much is the district's portion for the matching funds?
Well, the total portion for 5% that's not is 5% is $75,000, but there is up to $225,000 that will be out that we're reimbursed at the end of the grant period.
Okay, and so are both grants running simultaneously?
Yes.
We received the awards the same day, but they're running simultaneously. Okay, so it's 5% for both the healthcare and the welding?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Okay, and so where are we funding the
It is in our
match?
local. It is in our local budget. We have money that we've used from offsetting from T-class. We offset some salaries over, and so we just did some different offsetting and just pulling together some of our over budgeting that we have to make this happen. We're also looking at the way this is going to lay out that will probably straddle 2 budget years, so it could possibly go into the second budget year. So we're trying to make sure within the local budget, so it all has to come from local budget.
Okay, so is that why part of the criteria for the evaluation of bids was extension of payments? So that
Yes.
we could,
Yes.
our matching funds due back to TWC could spread over 2 fiscal years? Is that what we're doing?
Yes, if they will give us that extension, but we have to show our due diligence to move forward. But we feel very confident in the way we've been managing our budget that we should be able to do most of this year.
Okay. And so we'll see that more in depth when we
Yes.
start talking about, we
Yes.
start deliberating over the budget of how we arrived there? Or do you have something tonight?
No, we have. Well, I mean, we have all that. I mean, we've worked the budget and we have it all in there. But we can bring it back to you if you want to see every detail. Mm-hmm.
I'm just curious because I know y'all were so excited in the fall, getting the announcement of the award, and then in January, we didn't know where we were going to get the funds from, but then now in April, we have the funds, and so just to kind of help
goes
us
back-
catch up with you, you guys have been working behind the scenes, I'm sure diligently trying to get this, to make this happen, because it's such a wonderful opportunity to help our students advance in these
Right.
areas and to give them an advantage,
Right.
especially if they're going post-graduation into these fields, or
Yes.
they want to go and do additional certification in welding and get out there into the workforce
Yes.
as soon as they graduate, and they'll have additional credentials when they're entering into the workforce after they graduate from high school. So
Right. Well, and in that point too, in the first semester, looking at some of the cash flow issues we were having that we've discussed with you, when we had some of the funding that the state revenue that was not realized or kind of in there, and then it was removed. We had to take a step back, and during that time, yes, it was some concern because our first and foremost is to meet all of our payments moving forward and what we had budgeted successfully. And so after we did continued evaluation of looking at everything and making sure where we were, we found that we are there and we're able to make this happen. But I can bring you a whole presentation on that. It's quite, it will be, might even want to do a budget workshop on that, a little workshop on it, because it's quite extensive. I mean, because this is stuff that we do day in, day out. We've pulled, tugged, because this is a huge opportunity for our students. And so we fought mightily to make sure this can happen.
Well, and I want to express my appreciation to Ms. Cook and her staff, because they've been working hard for the last 6-7 months, cutting corners here, cutting corners there, tightening the belt a little bit here, tightening a little bit of belt there, And so they've been trying to do that, to get that money out of this budget to do what they need to do to get this grant out and moving out. So again, my hat's off to you and your staff for all the hard work you put in to make this happen, so.
Thank you.
And so is there also, one last question, is there a payment schedule that we have to commit to with TWC?
Well, the way, let me make sure I say this right, you might can be more well-versed. So when we purchase the items, then once we receive the invoice, we submit it, they'll pay us back 85% of the cost of the materials. That's where that 15% is coming, that we're out until the end of the grant. Then the other 10% will be received back. So there will be a flow in and out, very similar to any federal grant that we've done. But this time there is a matching portion that at the end of the grant there will be $75, or it's going to be a little under $75,000 that will have been expended by the district that will not be returned from TWC.
Okay, so that 5% that you mentioned of the match, that's going to be our net, right? After we pay the 15%, and then they'll reimburse us 10%.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And I know that's probably makes total sense to you, but it took me a while to wrap my mind around this. This is the first grant we've done that was like this, and so trying to make sure it was one of those things that was there. We wanted to make sure that we totally understood what we were getting into and that we could financially sustain that all the way through the grant, because we did not want to commit ourselves. That's why it took us a while once we received it and had the full explanation of what was expected. That's when those conversations happened. We kind of took a step back and said, okay, wait a minute, let's look at this and make sure we're making the fiscally responsible choice and decision here, because it's a great opportunity, but at the same time there's many areas that we're responsible for, and so we have to be good stewards.
So at the onset, where our outlay is going to be 15%, have they given us an estimated turnaround time or when we can expect the 10% reimbursement back off of our expenditures?
I would say about 4 to 6 weeks.
4 to 6 weeks.
It could be, that's what they've told me.
Okay.
And that's upon completion of, let's say it's I'm trying to use an example of something, not electrical. There's a SIM card that we purchase. So that has to be here, delivered, and installed, and then we will go ahead and send the reimbursement back. And Pocket Nurse cannot, they know as well as our other vendors, they cannot start billing us until that is complete as well.
Oh, okay.
So it won't
That's
start.
the extended payment
Yeah.
portion as well.
Yeah.
So that,
We won't get billed like when we place an order. We will
Right.
get billed after everything is here complete.
good. Okay. Okay. Well, that's good.
Yes.
That's really good.
That's why that was one of our criteria on our
Our money out
tabulation
of the
sheet.
pot.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, we had
Okay.
to really think through this, and we've thought about it until we're pretty much tired of thinking about it at this point, but it's been worth the effort, and we're very excited about what's to come for our students.
And the other thing I add is TWC, that's how I have to file a reimbursement. So I can't file a reimbursement once I've put an order. It has to be in our hands, installed. Then I file reimbursement. Simultaneously, they will bill us.
Okay. All right. So we're not waiting as long.
Exactly.
That's good.
So any other questions on that item? Okay, do I have a motion to approve the health care jet grant vendors and purchase of equipment or services?
So moved.
Motion made by Ms. Diasa, here a second by Mr. Vector. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? He's got it. And next item is consider and approve welding job and education Texas jet grant recommendations for vendors and purchase of equipment or services. And this is in conjunction with what we already discussed with the other stuff. So any other questions or comments on that?
I just had a couple of questions because there was points in the rubric for local vendors. So you got more points. That Alamo Iron Works and gas supply companies, are those local? And when the committee was evaluating this, local meaning the coastal bend,
So I tried not
Corpus?
to, so local within this area, I gave 20 points to everyone that was in this region. If I gave 10, no, Alamo is the only one I gave 10 because they were in San Antonio.
Okay.
That was the only one, and I think they're the only one that's a sole vendor. I just kind of felt, if you're in Ohio, you should get 0. I mean, it's not, you're not, the premise of this grant is they would prefer local, they prefer in Texas.
Okay.
That's what they prefer. So I didn't thought it would be unfair to give them a 0, even though the premise of the grant is for Texas companies.
Okay, thank you for clarifying that. Appreciate it.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, do I have a motion to approve the well inject grant vendors and purchase of equipment and services?
So move.
Motion made by Ms. Hill. Do I have a second? Second by Ms. Diasas. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Ayes got it. Next is consider and approve the disposal of out of adoption textbooks. And Ms. Dominguez is, oh, there she are, over there. You have any comments on that?
Just that these textbooks are very old, so they're in pretty poor shape, not really in any shape to be sold back or reused or anything like that, so.
It's something we have to do every year because we,
Okay.
the state gives us that and we have to adopt it, what we're going to do with them and that. So we have to go through and so, and you got, every year we have to come back to the board, and this is something we do on an annual basis to do this item. So anybody have any comments, questions on that?
Just a quick question. On the schedule, the very last item says big books. What are those?
With our ESL program comes the really jumbo books, and they're those.
Oh, from ESL.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
They're used a lot of times in our pre-K and kinder classrooms.
For
Thank
like reading centers, they hold them up and use them. They're actually big books.
Okay. It just said big books and quotes, and I thought, what is that? Okay.
No, it is actually a big book.
But it's for ESL, pre-K and kinder. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions or comments before we vote?
Oh, and that line item was, on my earlier schedule, it was blank, so I didn't know if there was an update, if there were some that needed to be, if there was a number for how many we're approving
I'm
to
confused now.
get
So
rid of.
you lost me
So if you
there.
look at the schedule,
Oh, how many big books
how
there
many big books,
are?
because every type of book indicates the quantity that we're putting out
We
of
have a
adoption.
quantity.
And we don't have any for big books. So I didn't know if we were doing so at that time, because if we need to get some in there so they can properly dispose of them, that we need to add any.
I don't have the number right off the top of my head. I know it's not that many because they don't generally have that many.
Okay.
Usually those are like a class set. It's one for
Okay.
It's not like sometimes your readers can be 4 to 6. For a small reading group, those are usually just one.
Okay. Well, as long as we don't have to do it by like a number or quantity, since if it's just that general category for pre-K and kinder. Okay.
Yes.
Any questions? Okay, do you have a motion to approve disposal of out of adoption textbooks?
So move.
Motion made by Ms. Butler. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Hill. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Ayes got it. Next is consider and approve the budget amendment for Falk Elementary to purchase supplies. Does any, Ms. Stansberry, Ms. Cook, you have any comments on that, or?
No, I can comment if you have a question.
Are these supplies that are different than what we were using ESSER funds for, or what kind of supplies?
Well, we're needing instructional supplies at Falk. Ms. Algovseva is projecting that we're gonna be opening up an extra classroom, and she needed extra supplies. And she knew that the staff development money that was in her budget was already being replaced with ESSER dollars. So she knew that would be left, so she's asking permission to move it from staff development to instructional supplies.
But Back on the ESSER 3 list, didn't we have a line item for supplies? With remaining dollars? I mean, with available dollars?
Another classroom. This is something different. This is to set up a classroom.
Okay.
So she's wanting to use these supplies for that out of her local budget.
Additional from what was
Additional.
earmarked for ESSER.
And so we cannot use the ESSER funds?
Yes, she has no more ESSER supply money.
Right, but as a district, we have some ESSER funds for supplies left over, don't we not? Or remaining?
But they've all been designated to other campuses.
Okay.
So she's wanting to use she's spent hers, so now she's wanting to use her instructional supplies from the local budget. So she's offsetting that from her conference money. So that,
Shifting.
Mine too, like, we didn't go to our principal's conference this year either, so I wanted to just move that to be able to use it. We've also had an influx of kids, we've sat over 500 most of the year, so that's the other reason for additional supplies and moving the money.
Oh, no, I understand the justification. I'm just looking at sparing the local funds, operating funds, if we have ESSER funds available with a line item of supplies. And since we're in April,
yeah.
school is wrapping up here, will the other campuses use those funds that are earmarked for them? There's still ESSER dollars in the remaining balance. Because if another campus is not going to use it, she's only looking for $1,500 for that school, for that next class.
Yeah, but you said the other campuses already allocated that money, so there's no money left in the ESSER funds other than what's already been allocated to other campuses to
But they
use.
haven't used it.
Well, but the problem is they've got it in their budget, so they may not use it now. So you're going to force the campuses to go ahead and purchase stuff right now, so she can, it doesn't make sense.
Well, why don't we do this? If y'all could approve it so that it could be put over into instructional supplies, it's just a budget amendment. And then what we'll do, we'll go back to the table and we'll make sure that there's not another way through ESSER funds to make that happen. If not, then we would like to be able to use these funds to take care of this, if that's
Okay.
okay. Okay?
Yeah, I don't disagree with supplies or for the additional class or moving forward with that.
Right.
I'm just saying which,
No, believe me, that's all we do every day,
Bucket to
looking at.
take it
but
out
yeah,
of.
so we will look at it one more time just to ensure. But this was the recommendation at this time.
Is there any questions, comments on that? Okay, do I have a motion to approve the budget amendment? Motion made by Ms. Diaz, is there a second?
second?
Second by Ms. Beller, all in favor say aye.
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 Anybody opposed? And that, next is going to item number 9, discussion, topics for future meetings. Again, Coach Taylor, we'd asked Coach Taylor to come up for a briefing, but again, I kind of moved him to the May agenda because he's going to get some more data as far as the other programs that are winding up, like the track and the tennis and stuff. So he's going to give us a completer picture of our campuses and how they're doing at the junior high and high schools, the athletic programs. So it allows him more opportunity to do that and get some really good data for us to come out to. So I okayed it to do that, but the board member that requested that was my decision to move it until. But it's going to be on the May agenda now. So yes, ma'am.
I'd like for us to consider a preliminary budget workshop, not just the workshop that we do when we're about to adopt. And particularly for this year, because not only financially has funds been tight, but we're moving out where we're not going to have ESSER anymore, and it's going to be on us. And so if we could consider having on our agenda a preliminary budget workshop, not the final budget workshop or the sole budget workshop.
I agree. I think it would be beneficial for us.
Because at the beginning of our budget deliberations, that's usually in a regular session. And I think this year we may have a little longer conversation about the budget.
We got a budget workshop sometime this summer already, kind of on the agenda.
No, I would welcome that. I mean,
But we do it at the end of the summer.
Yeah.
Yeah, we always have at
Even
least
August.
one. Once again, it goes back to you guys having setting a date to do it. So we're here. So I would welcome that because the
sometime
more
what-
we
what
can
you wanna
talk
do,
to.
June
So we
timeframe?
could have one in June, and then we could turn around and have another one in July. That should set everyone up well, so that in August you're ready to approve it. So that's perfect. You just tell us when, and we'll be ready.
And the second item is, I'd like to add to our regular May meeting an agenda item for discussion to actually set the Team of 8 meeting in June.
We can't do that, because again, we won't have the board, sitting board, because we know this one position not gonna be filled
Until
until June.
June.
So we'd have to wait till June meeting to do that, because again,
Setting
Adele
yourself
may
up
say, I'm available, but the new board member may come on and say, I'm not. So we're back where we were before. So we're gonna have to wait till we actually have a sitting board for another 2 years before you can go. In the May timeframe, it's not gonna be there yet, because we don't really canvass the votes until sometime at 8 May, is that right, when we're gonna do it? 8th of May? Yeah, and our board meeting comes too fast after that, so, yeah, so we're gonna do that, and we're gonna install the new board members coming in June, in the June board meeting, and so that'd be the first opportunity we have to do that, when we have the extra board that's gonna be here for a while. And that's a perfect suggestion to go ahead and do that, and so we can get that set and get it out of the way, and so we won't be, again, it gives the admin, or the administration ample time to go to Education Service Center and try to schedule, once we give them the dates that we can do, that gives them ample opportunity to go out to Education Service Center and try to tie down some of those dates.
If you do it as May, you're setting yourself up to those two potential new members not to be available, and then you're right back where you were anyway. So wait until June isn't really delaying anything, it's just solidifying a date that all 7 agree on at least.
Okay, then,
You could do it today and preliminary, prematurely set a date for June, but you're not guaranteed it's gonna work for the 2 other potential candidates gonna be sitting on the board.
okay, I appreciate that. Then, when we do have that discussion in June, will we have dates from TEA?
I could go ahead, we
To
could
see what
reach
dates are
out and we
available
could have a
ahead of
list
time?
of dates for you. We could do that, yes.
Okay, all right. Okay, so
Are
that,
you wanting TASB or Region 2?
whoever can do the Team of 8 training.
Both can do it, but TASB, I don't know, the TASB may cost you a little bit more money for them to come
Yes.
from Austin down here
Yeah.
than the Education
Yeah,
Service
they're
Center.
right there in Corpus, so.
Yeah, they're in Corpus, so it's a shorter drive for them, they come over,
So
and
we
it's a
can
little
get
bit
some
more
from Region
convenient
2
for them
then.
to do.
Okay.
Any other topics for future meetings? Next is convene an executive session as authorized by the Texas Open Meeting Act, Texas Government Code 551.001, concerning any and all purposes permitted by the Act, Section 551.074, discussion of personnel, contract recommendations, administrators, teachers, coaches, other certified personnel, non-certified personnel, new hires, the Rents Pass High School principal, information on new hires, resignations, and consider superintendent's pending retirement and resignation and consideration of leadership transition. And the time is now 8:29, and I adjourn this open session and convene in closed session. Time is now 10 p.m. We reconvene in open session and act on any items regarding action from closed session. First item is consider and approve contract recommendations. To approve the contract recommendations as presented by administration, do I hear a motion? Motion made by Mrs. Diaz, second by Mr. Director. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Next, consider and approve resignations. Approve the resignation presented by the administration. Do you have a motion to approve the resignations as presented by administration?
So moved.
Motion made by Ms. Butler. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Hill. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anybody disapprove, say nay. Consider and approve new hire for Aransas Pass High School principal. Approve the new hire for Aransas Pass High School principal position. Do I hear do I have a motion to approve the new hire for Aransas Pass High School principal position?
Second.
Motion made by Ms. Diaz, second by Mrs. Hill.
Ms.
All in
Butler.
favor say aye.
Butler.
Aye.
Butler,
Ms.
aye.
Butler, I'm sorry.
Butler, aye.
Ms. Butler. Okay. Next, consider in possible action to accept superintendent resignation due to retirement. Do I have a motion to approve the resignation of Superintendent Kara Cook due to retirement effective 31 July 2023?
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Mrs. Hill, second by Mr. Rector. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Next on the agenda is consider possible action to appoint an interim superintendent after she leaves. Do I hear a motion to appoint Wayne Bennett as interim superintendent effective 1 August 2023?
So moved.
Motion made by Mr. Rector. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Diaz. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed?
Nay.
Aye.
We got four ayes and 2 nays. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And at this time, with no other business before the board, I will adjourn this meeting.